about today. But before I get into that, Bobby, let's tell us what you do.
Oh, hi. So I'm Bobby Hood. It's great to be here today. I'm a tutor for the SAT and ACT and also college tests like GMAT, GRE, MCAT, LSAT, and I help students with college admissions as well.
Awesome. And I'm Kristen Clark. I help students figure out a career path after high school, which saves families college education costs, because if they go into school knowing what they want to be, they're getting out in 4 years versus the 6 years that it typically takes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So today what we wanted to spend some time on is how, number one, there was a Gallup Purdue study that talked about what you do in college will help you with success in life.
Mhm.
And one of the topics within that is how interacting with your professors in college will actually help you be a better person and feel more successful in what you do after college. So I thought it was fascinating. Just one piece of this that, for kids, a lot of times what I see is it's intimidating to go up and talk to a professor, and a lot of times even adults. Why is this a success? Why does this predict success, and how do we
Right.
help do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is really interesting because, at least when I was in college, I only went to a professor's office hours, if there was a problem in a class, right? If I was having a problem, then I would go to the office hours, but it never really it didn't occur to me like regularly to go to every professor's office hours or anything like that, or to the ones that really engaged me. I did sometimes. And the ones that I did do that with ended up, like, some of my college professors ended up being friends with me to this day, and so this is something I think that's really important because, when people go off to college, they don't have any idea how to study, how to prepare, what's going to help them. And so thought it'd be great to talk today a little bit about just, like what advice we can give to the students before they go off to college and what'll help them.
Yeah, so I'm going to just jump in there.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've seen with my clients is if they have an idea
Mhm.
of why they're going to college, what they're expecting as an outcome, it's a little bit easier for them to start this engagement process with their professor because they're taking classes that they're excited about and that are meaningful to them because they pertain to their career.
Right. So yeah, if you found the degree that the major, the profession that you want to be in, and you're engaged with it, it makes perfect sense that you would just naturally want to go to your journalism professor's office hours or whatever and talk to them more about what you're learning because you're excited about it, right? And so if you're just wandering around with no major, right, or you're in a major that you're not happy with, then you're not going to be engaged. You're not going to feel that way. That's something that, like, at least as a tutor, I see my students, like the students I have that are super successful with me and with test prep the most are the students who are able to schedule their own sessions, decide what homework to do. And I actually just figured this out over the last few years. Like, I've started pushing students to be more like that because then that makes more of them successful. And so I encourage, like, when a family signs up, I say, look, the student needs to schedule the sessions. Because if the parent schedules a session and the student hasn't done the work or isn't ready, then they shouldn't do that. And in fact, originally when I was tutoring, I would assign homework and say, your homework today is to take this one section or do these pages. And I have shifted to saying, okay, your homework is, here are 3 things you can do. Do them in whichever order you want, or that's the order of priority. So if you don't have time for all 3, you choose which thing to do. And then really, once a student has taken a couple of tests, I just say, your homework is to take as much of a test as you can. But, like, if you feel like math today, take math. If you feel like English today, take English. And so it's leaving the decision-making process to them. And I've seen so much more success because if you don't feel like doing math today, then do something else that you do feel like doing, and then you're going to be more engaged with it and be more successful. And I think that's a little bitty piece of, preparing students for college, where they're going to have to decide every day which class to work on, which homework to work on, if that makes sense.
And so anybody that's listening, if you have a question or a thought or just want to share in the conversation, please, chime in. We'd love to answer.
Absolutely.
questions or talk about a topic. And I think, Bobby, you brought up a good point, and that is when a student takes that initiative to be a part of it and making decisions within anything that they're involved in, right?
Mhm.
And they feel more engaged. They
Mhm.
feel more, a part of the conversation. So I can also see in college with going up and talking to the professor, now you're almost feeling connected to it. It's not just I'm walking
Mhm.
into the auditorium of 300 people or
Right.
12 people, whatever it is. There's more of a connection happening. And we know that's hugely important, to not only to get excited about what you're doing, but also to feel like you're part of that college or that experience.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's a lot of simple stuff here too, right? Once the professor knows who you are and has started talking to you and you've started talking to them in office hours, they're going to notice if you don't go to class, or they're going to notice if you miss class. They're going to notice if you're behind. They're going to have a, it's there's a funny psychological profile thing, which is like, if you think your professor doesn't like you or something, or if you think anyone in the world doesn't like you, this is the Benjamin Franklin principle, that, uh, he had someone that they disliked each other a lot, and so he went and borrowed a book from him, and
Mhm.
then that person then decided he must actually like Benjamin Franklin because he let him borrow the book. And so there's this psychological thing that if you do a favor for someone, you are inclined to like them because it's cognitive dissonance in your brain. And so the same thing with the professor. If you feel like the professor doesn't like you, go and ask them for help in office hours, and immediately that professor is going to feel, like more positively towards you. It's very, it's very simple. And I actually have a crazy story about that. Like, I just found out last week that my niece got awarded this fellowship where she's going to get to go spend a year researching in London, and 3 students from her college get selected each year to be able to do this. And I had looked at like her essays that she wrote, her application, but also I was able to look at the recommendation letter that her professor wrote that helped her get awarded this fellowship. And the recommendation letter was over a page long, and it was all about how, when as a sophomore she was in her class, she was so engaged and was coming into office hours and was asking perceptive questions and showing that she was really interested. And that led the professor to believe that she would have the academic potential to go and investigate things on her own. And it was impressive to that professor that she was doing that as a sophomore when everyone else in the class were juniors and seniors and were much less engaged. And so it's not just that this will also make you do better in your own classes and in college and keep you more engaged, but it also can lead to these amazing opportunities like that.
Yes, because how many kids, and you can just tell even by that story, how many really engage their professors. So it's a way to
Mhm.
stand out as well as, as a star. And whether you're trying to go after a big award or you just, want to do better in life. One of the things that I think about on this subject is what kinds of questions can be icebreakers for
Mhm.
kids to go up and talk to their professors. And Bobby, I think, like you brought up a great one. It's, oh, wow, do you have any other books that you suggest on this topic?
Mhm. Yeah.
Or, I'm thinking about doing this as a career. Can you tell me your thoughts on different areas that I need to focus on, or
Mhm.
different subjects that would be important, or maybe even other classes that go along with this one that would be worthwhile? What other things do
Absolutely.
you think of?
Well, so this is all like, this occurs to me that, in the college admissions arena, like, this is the whole thing, right? The best way, like when you're writing your college essays, your college application essays, like in one of your college application essays, I always tell students that, you should go and say, okay, let's say I mentioned journalism earlier. You're interested in journalism as a major, or just pick one out that at least you're interested in, but you don't know that you're definitely going to do it. But when you apply to college, you say, hey, I looked up and I noticed, I noticed that last year the college opened this new journalism lab, and you've got this professor who's written these articles, and this article sounds really interesting. And I can't wait to meet and engage with this professor and use that amazing media lab. Now, that just shows the college that you took the time to spend 5 minutes researching what's new and exciting at the college, right? And so That in itself is a huge benefit in college admissions. But also, when you think about your student and how hard it is to get your student to pick a college, right? This is so difficult because students just say, oh, well, I know some people are going to this college, so I'm going to apply there. But if you can start by getting them to figure out what it is they're interested in, then go research, okay, colleges that are good at that or whatever, but then go research, like look at the professor, right? Look at the professors and find an article they wrote or something. That's going to get the student engaged and be like, oh, I'm actually excited about college because I'm going to learn about the career I'm going to do, not just go and
Yes,
sit, right?
you're bringing up a really good point too, Bobby. I see this happen all the time in families. We spend so much time with our kid helping them get into college,
Right.
and we're not spending the time beforehand saying, okay, why do we want to go in the first place?
Mhm.
And then also after to say, okay, now how are you going to be successful? And I think
Mhm.
it's a really important thing for us to consider as parents to arm our kids with, okay, now we got through this really big milestone. Let's applaud it. Let's celebrate it. Let's get
Right.
excited. But now let's start thinking about how do we become successful while we're there? And, a lot of this stuff plays in.
Oh, for sure. And, so colleges, when they're doing the college admissions process, they are looking for students. They know about this thing that engagement with professors and engagement just in school and in activities and everything is the predictor of success in life, as is the title of today's talk. Like they know that. And that's why they are more likely to choose students that indicate in their essays that they are going to engage with professors and engage on campus and join activities and things like that. Because as simple as it is, those students will do well and be successful, and then they will donate money as alumni, they hope, to the college. I mean, that's what
Right.
it all comes back to, right? But they will stay all 4 years and not transfer to another college and not fail out and that sort of thing too. And so that's it. And so I think that's kind of the point of all this is like, colleges even have started making freshman students, some of them, some colleges have started requiring a 2 hour like how to study and engage in college little course, intro course at the beginning of freshman year. And students need that. You can't just drop your student off and say, I hope you figure out how to study on your own, with like all of us had to do back when we
Yep,
met.
figure it out. Well, and I think I go back to, for parents, if you can encourage your student and to talk to their professors, that's one thing that you can do to help encourage success long term.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. And I mean, and that's what, with what you do, helping students figure out what major and what career might fit their interests and their skills and strengths. I mean, I think that's a great place to start, right? Is just, once you figure out what it is you want to do, then everything else can fall into place after that.
it really does, Bobby, and it does. So once they understand why they're going to college and what's the end goal,
Mhm.
all the other stuff does really fall into place.
Yeah.
Where it feels comfortable to go up and talk to a professor. It does feel comfortable to get engaged in college because a lot of those things that kids worry about in college go
Mhm.
away. They worry about, oh my gosh, I don't have a major figured out. They worry about, oh my gosh, what am I going to do when I get out of college? I don't even know what I'm going to do for a career. And
Mhm.
if those things are at least being talked about early on, college gets to do what it's supposed to do. And
Right.
that's to, breed really good, well-rounded people and successful people and, get them ready for a career.
Absolutely. I mean that's exactly how I look at it. And you can see like both of us love talking about this so much. We're always happy to answer questions. You've got like I don't know if the crawl with our contact information is on there, but my website, and you'll see it in a moment, it's bobbyhoodonlinetutoring.com. You can contact me anytime with questions about things like this. I'm always happy to speak with anybody. I know Kristen is as well.
Here we
Oh,
go.
there we go. Yeah. And so
Yay.
there you can see at the bottom my website and Kristen's as well, because Kristen's got classes and works one-on-one with students. So yeah, go ahead and mention that, Kristen.
Yeah, so I have a class starting on Sunday, and
Ooh.
it's how pick the right major.
Oh,
How
that's perfect.
a student figure out a career path and a major that goes along with that. And if you're interested, go to kristenclark.com on the student programs, and you'll find out all about that.
That's great. Well, it's great this is such a good topic to get people thinking about, because with everything else we do, it doesn't matter if you're not interested in what you're doing, then you're not going to be successful. So that's That's great.
Okay. Thanks.